Theme park adverts. We all remember that one moment where we were watching TV and saw this advert promoting the latest and greatest thrill at our favourite theme park, whether that be Alton Towers or Thorpe Park, for example. The style in which these adverts have been made has evolved dramatically over the years, from quite little musical numbers in the 80s to the 90s and early noughties, where they got darker and moodier as more intense and intimidating rides were starting to be built. But the real question is, have we seen a regression in recent years? Do the adverts get as excited for each new edition as they used to? Well, let's find out as we take a trip back in time.
You know, Bill, I really enjoyed our day at Drayton Manor. There was so much to do.
It's the 1980s. People have all sorts of funky hairdos, and synthesizers are everywhere. In the UK, a revolution is happening in the leisure industry.
In Alton Towers you will find you can leave your cares behind. Here's a new world just for you. There's so much to see and do. It's the only place to be. Fun for all the family at Alton Towers now.
I mean, even Disney couldn't compete with that. It wasn't just Alton who were up to this. Not too far down the road, Drayton Manor had a good go too.
Fun, 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 at Drayton Manor Park, it's here for you.
In my opinion, based on the fact that I've unashamedly hummed Drayton's version several times in the past, I think that just gets the edge.
Don't worry, this is your stop.
If you think you can take it, stand up.
Fast forward into the 1990s, and all of a sudden, parks started to turn their attention away from just your traditional family fun day out to something more akin to this.
Nemesis, the awesome new ride at Alton Towers. Sit back, it's fright time.
And I think it's fair to say we have one company largely to hold responsible for all of this. Probably why they merged with Merlin in the end, to be fair, as they knew one day they probably would be named in an Attractions with Ash video. Of course, it wasn't just exhilarating thrills. There was still some space for colour, light, and all the madness that came with that. Take Bubbleworks at Chessington or Toyland Tours at Alton Towers, for example. Two distinctly colourful and wacky dark rides that you could perhaps say provided a nice blend between the musical theatre of the 80s and the well thought out backstories that the more intense rides came along with in the 90s. Ah, the noughties. Now we're starting to get into my sort of territory. Back when the world was bristling with optimism at the thought of the future. And that, I think, very much seeped into the marketing behind Air, which opened at Alton Towers in 2002.
Air at Alton Towers. You can fly.
In recent years, as nostalgia has become somewhat of a trend, we have certainly tended to see the resurgence of the simple yet so effective lowercase lettering, which was once so popular around the time of this advert. 2002 was also the year that Thorpe Park properly came onto the thrill scene with the opening of the then world record breaker Colossus.
world's first 10 looping roller coaster, Colossus. It never leaves you.
Admittedly, this is actually the first time for me watching Colossus's advert from start to finish, after only seeing snippets beforehand. It's interesting though to see that Colossus and the Smiler, which of course broke the former's record in 2013, have more in common with their advertising than I first thought, with both choosing to spread the message that their respective rides will put you under an illusion.
After all, who wouldn't want to receive a gift from the Smiler?
Unfortunately, things would start to take a turn for the worse creative-wise at Alton, with both the opening of Spinball Whizzer and the rebranding of the iconic log flume to the Flume Unplugged by Imperial Leather. Although the latter did produce the red bathtubs, which I do envy never being able to ride. Let's face it, if your budget can only stretch to someone who sounds very much like Vernon Kay, then that's not really a great start.
It's flipping crazy!
Towards the end of the decade, the bar was once again raised after the merger of Two Swords into Merlin. Suddenly, there were a fair few games being played.
Do you want to play a game?
Yes, the Bone Shaker itself saw the ride, closed out the decade, leaving people on the edge of their seats, which was actually probably good practice for actually getting on the ride, as to avoid some severe head bashing. Just before we leave the noughties, an honourable mention has to go to Rita, with a cheeky little deceiving stat to try and hype up the speed of the ride. Still, to this day, it's criminal that that ride barely lasts 20 seconds. And just while researching the first advert that they did for Rita, I just stumbled across the second advert that they did for Rita, and also Camilla, Queen of Speed, which genuinely looks like a Coors Light advert. You feeling nostalgic yet? I certainly hope you are. If you are, make sure to smash that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it really does help the channel out. Trying to get to 300 subscribers at the moment on Attractions with Ash, so if you can help me get there, that would be very much greatly appreciated. Right, on with the documentary. Hang on, what was that? Did someone say apocalypse? Yes, that's right. The year is 2012. You can't run or hide from the end of the world, but what you can do is experience a B&M Wing Coaster in the UK for the first time. But don't worry, You Me at 6 will be one of the last things you hear, so I think you're going out in style.
The Swarm at Thorpe Park.
It's been 13 years. Surely the apocalypse is over by now. Too bright, too bright. Hang on a moment. It just says here I've got to go in for some observations with Dr. Kalman. I'm sure it won't take too long though.
Focus on the joy!
Join us.
In my opinion, some of the best marketing that Alton have ever done is for the Smiler. It was much more than just the advert. The backstory they gave to the scare maze alone was just incredible. You were really made to feel like something huge was coming.
You belong to the Smiler.
The Smiler, the world's first 14-looping roller coaster. Book now at AltonTowers.com.
Say hello to the Smiler enforced happiness and contentment.
Now we're starting to get close to the present day. Let's start to talk about why these adverts have taken a bit of a decline in the last few years. Now, of course, we've just seen the Smiler, absolutely incredible advert and marketing behind that. We've seen, earlier in the video, adverts like Nemesis and Oblivion that are so memorable even to this day, the marketing that was put behind them. In comparison, in the last couple of years, we've seen, Hyperia and Toxicator, two relatively recent additions in the Merlin parks in the last couple of years, and whilst there were pretty good theming around them, you go to them in real life, Hyperia really stands out, doesn't it? And Toxicator at Alton Towers as well, which opened this year, brilliant theming around it, really links in well with Forbidden Valley. But the marketing for these rides, in my opinion, it's not really that memorable, really, when you look to previous marketing campaigns and previous adverts that, you know, we've seen in this video. The last few years, it seemed to be a lot more corporate, a lot more clean cut, a lot more polished, and I think that's a general trend that I think most adverts on television have taken these days, really. And I think that's why I wanted to make this short documentary, really, covering the progression and regression, I think, in my opinion, the last few years of these adverts, because just the world in general, the way things are marketed, you know, you see on TV, you know, the latest car being marketed and advertised, it's just so professional and clean, and there's nothing, you know, out of the ordinary about it. It's very, I suppose, cookie cutter. I suppose the question to ask really is, will we ever see anything like this again? You know, will this pick back up in a few years' time, and, you know, adverts will start to become a lot more memorable again, you know, outside of theme parks? You know, a couple of months ago I went to Cadbury's World and saw obviously the gorilla playing the drums. That was such a memorable advert, just about, you know, what was that, like 15, 16 years ago, however long ago that was. You know, will we see adverts like that again? That is the big question, and I hope so, because, you know, that's something that's, especially in my opinion, you know, you always want to be excited when you hear something opening that you're really excited to ride. You want to really get in the mood for it and excited. So hopefully that's one aspect of the marketing that can return in the next few years or so, or the next, you know, decade or so, because I feel like that's something that's really, really special about theme park attractions. It's not just the ride, really, it's the whole backstory behind it, and I think that's what made so many iconic rides, of course, like I mentioned, so special. That's basically why I wanted to make this short video, really, exploring, you know, the way these rides were marketed in the past, and the way, you know, some of these rides right now, there's not really much to them in terms of the adverts. Of course, if you actually go there, they're absolutely incredible. Of course, the theming is really immersive, but I suppose, you know, if you've never been to these places before, you know, you that's the whole point of the advert, is to make you want to go, and hopefully we can see a return of that. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching.